Our journeys may differ, but the human desire to belong is universal. Hi, I'm Hema a teacher educator, an author, a scribbler, and as someone once amusingly called me, a pedagogical polymath. Welcome to the Hema Zone, where I build bridges across diverse perspectives and cultures. Every first Wednesday of the month, I weave a narrative on a compelling topic about the arts, music, books, and education. Today, I want to take a stroll down memory lane, or perhaps more accurately, down a series of very mysterious, very secret tunnels and islands that exist only in our childhood imaginations. November 14th is celebrated as Children's Day in India. I know it's not for another couple of weeks, but it got me thinking about children. And a simple question popped into my head. How were we as kids portrayed in books? The short answer, not very much. Back in the day, at least in India in the 1980s, 70s, 60s, there weren't many writers who wrote for kids or even about kids in ways that felt real. We were usually invisible, or if we showed up at all, we were either angelic little role models or total troublemakers. There wasn't much middle ground. You either sang like a lark, got the first rank in school, recited poetry flawlessly, and obeyed your elders instantly, or you were the kind of child who lost your geometry box every week, tripped over your own feet, and got blamed for every household mishap. Of course, one writer ruled my childhood bookshelf like a queen bee, Enid Blyton. The Five Fine Doubters, the Famous Five, the Secret Seven, the Naughtiest Girl in School. How many of you don't remember those titles? I must have bought 3 whole sets of these books. First for younger cousins, then later for my nephew. Basically, I've single-handedly kept the Enid Blyton estate solvent for decades. Take the Five Fine Doubters and Dog. Out of all the children, I liked Bets best. She was the youngest, constantly teased by the others, yet she held her own with a quiet brilliance. Fatty, the cleverest of the lot, and Bets had a mutual admiration society of sorts. She might not have received the glory, but she solved mysteries in her own sharp, understated way. I mean, who else could smell out clues and notice things others didn't? Oh, by the way, has anyone wondered if Bets and Fatty ended up married? Or was that just my hopelessly romantic streak showing up again? Then there were Jack and Lucianne from the Adventure series. Poor things had no parents and were desperately searching for a family. When Philip and Diana's mother adopted them, Blyton painted her as the world's perfect adoptive mother, kind, loving, patient, generous. My suspicious little brain whispered, does she really love them as much as her own kids? I waited for the drama to hit. Spoiler, it never did. I clearly had a strong partiality for imagining conflict. And then, of course, the famous 5. Who didn't adore Georgina, who flat out refused to be Georgina, insisting on being George. If my parents had ever read Enid Blyton, which I know they hadn't, they probably would have hoped that I would be Julian. Tall, responsible, kind, intelligent, the model older sibling. But no, I was George. I hated dressing up. I was mouthy. I was rebellious. And in my head, I was loyal, fearless, and utterly unflappable. Well, had a temper, but unflappable. Whether I still carry all of George's qualities into adulthood? Let's just say I claim to, and I dare anyone to challenge me. Anne, poor Anne, sweet Anne, always cooking, cleaning, and making beds and caves, while the rest of the gang had the real fun, scared of everything, but yet brave enough not to be left behind. Useful, yeah. Role model, not in my book. Then there was Elizabeth, the naughtiest girl in school. Like George, she had fire, mischief, and a knack for getting into trouble. She made mistakes, sure, but she also grew from them. She was a hot mess with potential, essentially a mirror of how many of us felt inside. If we look beyond Blyton, the 1960s and 70s had some other interesting portrayals of childhood. Right? Enid Bagnall's National Velvet, which depicted a young girl's passion and courage in the horse racing world, or Roald Dahl's early works, James and the Giant Peach, Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. Dahl's children were often resourceful, mischievous, and clever. But unlike Blyton's polished, obedient children, Dahl's protagonist was scrappy, bold, and sometimes morally ambiguous. They had agency in worlds that were fantasized, absurd, sometimes dark, but always alive with possibility. Even Arthur Ransom's Swallows and Amazons depicted kids as explorers, adventurers, and decision makers in their own right. Cycling, sailing, camping, making plans, and sometimes failing spectacularly. That was us. But what about kids today? Who do they see themselves in? Well, their books look a very little different. No, very different. There's Alex Rider, a teenage spy who's equal parts James Bond and the boy next door. Sure, he's dodging assassins, breaking this into secret labs, and saving the world on a weekly basis. But between missions, he hangs out with friends, chats, sneaks out, does homework, sometimes, and eats ice cream. Ordinary stuff, yet extraordinary all at once. Then there's Percy Jackson. Half god, half human, 100% sarcastic. He battles Olympians, cracks jokes, gets insecure, and yet emerges as a leader. Percy teaches that courage and wit, even when imperfect, are enough to face the impossible. And of course, Harry Potter. Tragic past, check. Constant danger, check. But also friendship, laughter, Quidditch, midnight library adventures, secret passages, and that trio of friends we all secretly wish we had. Ron is insecure. Hermione is bossy. Harry's occasionally clueless, but together they make magic. Well, real magic too. Today's younger children are also finding heroes in graphic novels like Raina Telgemeier's Smile and Sisters, where everyday school challenges and friendships are portrayed in vibrant, relatable ways. And in fantasy, books like Cressida Cowell's How to Train Your Dragon show kids negotiating worlds filled with both peril and hilarity. Compare them with Blyton's crew. Our adventures were smaller in scale, smugglers, caves, mysterious lights and towers. But the spirit, exactly the same. Today's kids are facing gods, dragons, and dark lords. The scale may have expanded, but the essence, the thrill of being young, daring, and clever remains. Here's a beautiful thing about literature. It gives children two gifts: mirrors to see themselves and windows to peek into other worlds. Blyton gave us secret islands, picnics with sandwiches, peaches plucked off trees, endless gingerbeer. Today's books give kids magic, superpowers, alternate realities, different packaging, same hunger. Freedom, adventure, and belonging. But literature doesn't just reflect kids' lives. It also tells adults what we're missing: the importance of unstructured time, creativity, friendship. Before any parent jumps out there and yells, "So you want us to turn our kids into spies and demigods?" Relax. That's not my point. What I'm saying is this: look at the lives these characters live. Alex Rider may save the world, but he also hangs out. Percy Jackson may fight monsters, but he also jokes, argues, and eats campfire meals. Harry Potter faces deathly perils, but he also plays chess, laughs with friends, sneaks around castle corridors at midnight. What do many kids get today? Scheduled hours. Swimming, tuition, music, coaching, more coaching. Every moment supervised. Every second accounted for. Maybe we can take a page from these stories and offer our kids unstructured time. Time to do nothing. Stare out the window, build forts, doodle. It's not laziness, it's preparation for creativity. That's when the brain sorts ideas, imagines new worlds, learns problem solving all on its own. How about freedom to explore? A walk to the store, a bike ride without an adult hovering around. Small freedoms teach responsibility, decision making, trust. Let them occasionally forget water bottles, misplace shoes, or arrive home late without panic, but with guidance. Friendship circles are so important. Kids need their own tribes. Blyton's gangs, Harry's trio, Percy's cabin mates, or even modern online book clubs and safe communities for gaming and creativity. Small shifting groups where loyalty, conflict, and fun coexist. Children must learn friendship without constant adult interference. Scary for adults, but it's essential, believe me. What's the next thing we need to do? Permission to fail. Percy messes up, George rebels, Anne trembles, but tries anyway. Failure is not the end, it's part of growth. Well, we've all heard, failure is a stepping stone to success. Yeah, we've heard that. But how much do we really practice it with our kids or allow them to practice failure? Obsession with perfection does not prepare kids for real life. We need to provide them space for imagination. Caves, secret rooms, forts under dining tables or behind sofas, visiting schools where they practice their magic, whatever tricks they pick up. Imagination is not a pastime. It's a survival tool. It's a social laboratory. It's a playground for empathy and creativity. And I swore that I would not preach. I'm sorry about that, but it needs to be said. Stories are blueprints for who we might become. They also remind us, adults, of who we were once. Bets taught me cleverness counts. George showed me rebellion and loyalty. Elizabeth provided mischief can be transformative. Today's children will find themselves in Percy's sarcasm, Harry's resilience, and Alex's courage. Bigger worlds, bigger stakes, but still human at the core. So let's not give kids dragons to slay or mysteries to solve. Let's give them freedom, joy, space to live stories worth telling. Because whether it's a secret island, a visiting castle, or a blanket fort in the living room, every child deserves to be the hero of their own story. Thanks for listening as I thought aloud today. Share this podcast. Follow the Hema Zone on Instagram. Catch me on Facebook at the Hema Zone. And scribble me a note on my webpage, thehemazone.com, about a person or topic that interests you. I'll be back on the first Wednesday next month with another episode that nurtures the curious, empathetic child in all of us. The part of us that isn't afraid to explore, dare, take risks, and celebrate both success and failure. Because at the end of the day, stories, whether they're about gingerbeer or butterbeer, remind us that adventure is universal, imagination is essential, and being a child at heart is something worth celebrating every day with joy.